What we're going to do is dive into the nitty gritty of fantasy football, what we need to look out for and what we need to ignore. And then we're going to dive into some players that Andy's really bullish on and other questions that you guys have. So the big debate is fantasy football is different than football cards. There's no doubt about it. What
For sure.
are the areas in fantasy that we could actually take and apply to fantasy or to football cards? Because we got to make sure we draw the line in the sand. So, what are you seeing from that?
Well, I mean, you got to understand touchdowns are the biggest bonus in fantasy, and touchdowns also lead to the highlight reels. So right there, that's a big takeaway. You know what I'm saying? But we have to also look at Vegas odds and see how many games Vegas is predicting to win, what the over-unders are looking like. You got to take in the entire offensive and defensive system into consideration. A lot of things I'm looking at are like, what's their pass to run ratio? Are they more of a run heavy team? What's their coaching style like? Eagles are a prime example. They're one of the most pass happy teams in the league. Arizona, same thing. They're more college and quarterback minded coaches, and so we know those teams are going to favor the quarterback. The running back is going to be more of a three-headed attack. I'm actually working on running backs right now, and that's like a big thing. And like if there's it's a three-headed attack, then you're out. You know, I'm looking for bell cow running backs that are going to get the ball in the red zone. So an advanced analytic that I'm looking at is red zone carries, red zone opportunity. And then an advanced analytic for quarterbacks, a good one that I've seen come out with recently that's pretty new is money throws. And there's experts out there in the fantasy world that are studying film. They're taking out all of normal time and they're going to third and longs. They're going to 2-minute situations at the end of games and seeing which quarterbacks are the most clutch under pressure.
Okay, and so does that matter more for fantasy or is that more for football cards? Because obviously for football cards, I want the guy that can rally the team in the fourth quarter, that could get out of third and 15. But in fantasy, it's numbers, right? At the end of the day, it's how many points are you going to put up on the board for me so I can win as a team. While in cards, there's a lot of intangibles, a lot of emotion, a lot of this guy has cool hair, this guy does a backflip, this guy's dating a supermodel, whatever it is. So where does that lie in what you look
Sure.
for?
Well, sure. And right now, with no games going on, you're phenomenal at helping me remember that I have to take into all these off-field considerations, social media. I mean, we look at the Last Dance and everything that's going on in the news right now. Everything that's driving sports cards up is in the media, is in the news.
Well, it's definitely
It's
not on
not.
the field
Yeah,
or on the
yeah,
court. Yeah.
yeah. It's not on the field. So but once on the field performance starts up again, it's going to be all over the news and the mainstream media. So there's our correlation. You know, there's a direct correlation. I think that on the field performance is going to drive at least 50% or more. Of course, there's always those anomalies like Mike Tyson, like Colin Kaepernick, who I mean, he had thanks to Jim Harbaugh, he had moments of brilliance when he first came out on the field. And yeah, he's mobile, but he's not an accurate passer at all. And that with all of his politics, he doesn't have a performance on the field, but he's obviously got a big hype off the field. And that's how you were able to primarily capitalize on his rookie cards.
Well, I mean that's one of the biggest differences is literally anyone can buy a card for any reason they want. I like this person's hair. I like because they played for my team. I like anything. While fantasy is very data driven. So let's go back to the fantasy side of it and talk about the metrics that you're looking at. Because I know you use a very advanced program. It's not just Yahoo Sports or one of these generic ones. You pay for this yearly or by season, and it gives you ridiculous depth of data, but obviously not all of it's going to matter. So, what are the biggest indicators that you look at that you would apply to cards rather than fantasy?
Well, and that's why I put together my sheet because I want to be able to see that in one place, honestly. And I want to be able to see his rookie card price. I want to see what his on field performance was last year, what the team changed in the offseason, and then what he's projected to do this year. Has a lot changed in the offseason? If so, what has it been? Has it been the O line? Has it been the defense primarily? Have they added weapons? And then I take those into consideration and look at their opportunity this year based on what Vegas is going to say they're going to win. Vegas has got deep pockets, Brad. And
Yeah.
when we look at their over-unders and we look at their projected win totals for the season, then we can get an idea of guys we want to target.
Okay.
And those guys, rookie cards are going to go up. And particularly if we look at last year, what happened with Lamar Jackson, obviously he's a prime example. But there's other guys that had smaller impacts. I looked at Matt Ryan from the 2016 season. I think it was 2016 season. And he had an increase. He made it to the Super Bowl. That was the year that they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and the Patriots came back and beat them. He made it there, and he had a very good fantasy performance. He actually got the MVP that year. He did not win the Super Bowl, but he had the MVP. And take it, this was a few years ago, but he saw a decent increase. I think it was like a 2 to 3x increase in his rookie card. So you take that into account with all of the new people like myself, you, all the other our subscribers, our whole community that are getting into the card market now. I think we're going to see a more of an increase based direct correlation to fantasy performance, on-field performance, and that'll balance out with the off-field social politics and everything else going on.
Okay, so well, there was a couple things we were talking about the other day. One of which is why not just go to one of these websites that say here are the top fantasy players in order. Why can't you just
Jason
go there
agrees.
and say, all right, well, I'll just buy the top 10 people right there. What's that? Weed? Is that a maple leaf or is that
No,
marijuana? Marijuana beer?
it's a
Ah,
Canadian beer I got at Publix today because I was going through the aisle. And I'm sorry, guys. Some of you might call me a beer snob, but I'll look for like a craft beer or something that's different. And I don't drink that often, but I thought of Jason Breaks and got a Canadian beer. Actually, it's delicious, man. It's delicious.
you don't always drink, but when you do, it's Moosehead. And
There
honestly,
you go.
the fact that you're drinking beer adds credibility in my mind to you watching football on Sundays because I
It's
don't drink
good.
beer, so you
It's
can't even
good,
trust my
Chris.
word with football investments. I see you guys in the comment section. We're going to get to you. I just want to say hi again because it's awesome that you guys are joining us on this. But let's go back to that question on if I just look up best fantasy football players to pick for my team and say, well, these guys are projected to do great. Let me see who's undervalued there. What am I not? What? Why can't I just do that?
Well, I mean, you can't do that because like Christian McCaffrey's a really good example. He's going arguably number one overall in all fantasy drafts. However, Vegas only has the Carolina Panthers to win 5.5 games. They suck, dude. They're not. I mean, I hate to say they suck, but I
They're
mean, look,
expected to suck.
yeah, they're expected to suck. They're expected to. If Vegas says they're going to suck, I mean, okay, if they're 5.5, maybe they get a couple extra best case scenario.
Well,
That's
they're
still
not
only
beating
7.5.
us.
So he's not going to see the ultimate imp. So, I'm going to target guys that have an equal production value as him, um, and that are a little bit later in the draft that are going to have a much lower rookie card price as well. Because if you look at Christian McCaffrey, he's actually gone up considerably over the last couple weeks. I was just looking at his rookie card earlier today.
And I saw too that he is 99 overall on Madden, and because there's no actual news in sports,
How
that
about
made
my
it to
second one?
ESPN. Like that was news. I forgot the other players. I think Aaron McDonald of the Rams and McCaffrey, and I forgot who else. Maybe Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes made it 99 overall. But even something like
Very
that could be enough reason for someone that's on the fence to say, I'll pick up a couple of their cards because there's going to be a lot of people playing Madden, like crushing it with McCaffrey and Mahomes, that might become fans of those players
well.
more so because of that than seeing them on TV.
I was just you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right, Brad. And I was just talking to if Aaron Escatella, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah.
Okay. I was just talking to Aaron Escatella about something similar the other day because the saying's always been defenses win championships, right? But in fantasy, we have a saying that is defenses don't matter.
Mm.
And I mean, it's the thing is that during the season, I mean, you got all the analysts on NFL. I mean, I bet you Terry Bradshaw plays fantasy football, you know. So every time you see anything that's talked about their on-field performance, it's going to be directly associated with fantasy. I mean, fantasy has it's a cultural and social phenomenon all in of itself. So there's a big carryover from that. And there's a lot of guys that are going to make huge splashes this year that I think have underpriced rookie guards. Seriously.
Okay, so we're going to go over some of the guys that you are looking in the data of and really like. I just want you to clarify one more time or in detail all the metrics that you like to use that correlate to cards, because I'd say at
It's
least
opportunity.
half of them or a good percentage you want to ignore or at least minimize their importance because it doesn't really matter. Because again, on fantasy, the season's over before the playoffs. While in the card world, I believe Patrick Mahomes' rookie card hit its peak at the time right before the Super Bowl. Well, if he was out of the playoffs in Week 16, even if he had a great year, that could have been a much lower investment. So obviously, win total for that whole season in terms of investment means a lot. What else are you looking at? Because we're going to go to the
Yep.
intangibles next. We'll touch
Yep.
on that. But
Well,
give me like the top five or so metrics that you're like, we got to focus on these and what positions they're for.
Well, yeah, and like I talk about, it's quarterbacks, it's mobility and accuracy. So for mobility, I'm looking at their burst and speed scores. I'm looking at their athleticism metrics, and that's taken from Nike's test a lot of times, and other times they're weighting in their weight and their height into it as well. And then we're taking their accuracy. So we're looking at deep ball completion percentage, money throw completion percentage. What's their completion percentage under pressure? And then of course, we're taking into the entire team presence, offense and defense, from the offensive line to the defense, and then supporting cast efficiency is a big one because
Okay.
that's going to aggregate all of the physical, productive, and efficiency markers of the wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs, and um, give that into consideration to the QB's production premium, which is how productive they are in completing passes in every single one of their attempts during normal gameplay. I'm really, it's opportunity markers is what it is, Brad. I'm probably going way too much in the weeds here of all the different markers, but it's opportunity metrics that we're looking at. So for running backs, you could say red zone carries. I want to know their pace of play, like how many run snaps do they play every series, um, and we're looking into all kinds of stuff. It's all centered around opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the one thing with football that's so unique is that if LeBron James is on a team with six or let's say four other junior middle schoolers or junior high schoolers, he's going to get the ball every time. He's going to put up 80 points and he'll be MVP even if the whole team sucks because he can play on defense and he'll have the ball the whole time. The quarterback's the only position that will have the ball 95 plus percentage of the time on offense. But if the offensive line sucks, if the receivers drop balls, if the tight end can't block, if all these things don't happen, you can really bring down the performance of the quarterback,
Absolutely,
and vice versa. You could
absolutely.
have receivers wide open that don't get the ball because the quarterback got sacked because the offensive line or just overthrew the receiver. So I think that's where it gets very interesting with all those complementary pieces because it's a machine on offense. Everyone needs to do their job just for that play to happen and for them to get 8 yards. So that's why I really like about it. Tell me a bit about your last year's performance in fantasy and some of the players you picked on your teams and what happened.
Okay.
Like your wins or losses in your different leagues.
Yep. So I lost in all three of my leagues, but I made it to the playoffs in each one of them. I made it to the playoffs, and dude, I was getting Lamar Jackson in my fantasy league last year between rounds 4 and 7, and it was just very running back heavy, wide receiver heavy in the beginning of the drafts, and the guys in my leagues, were taking it very seriously. Except for one person. I remember one person drafted Baker Mayfield second overall, and I was the third pick, and I got Alvin Kamara. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't thank you, God, for picking Baker Mayfield. I picked Baker Mayfield second overall. But anyway, so I took both of my leagues to and I had Kyler Murray as my main quarterback in my other league. And I had Lamar Jackson in 2 out of the 3 leagues. And I had Kamara. I had Kelsey. I had Sammy Watkins. Um, I had uh, I had Marquise Lee and Dede Westbrook on Jacksonville, but Dede didn't pan out. Um, I mean, there's so many guys last year. Chris Godwin was a staple actually in 2 of my leagues. I can't believe I mentioned him after the other guys. But yeah, I mean, it was a good year. But the thing is, when it comes to the playoff, you make one wrong substitution and you don't win that week. I remember vividly subbing out Kyler Murray for Lamar Jackson and putting in Kyler Murray thinking that Lamar Jackson was playing Buffalo. That's a tough defense. I mean, they're top 10 ranked last year, and Kyler Murray was playing Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, okay, and I shouldn't have underestimated them. It's like I say, okay, it was really because Big Ben wasn't there last year. They had a down year, but they're still a solid team, and I underestimated them, and I started Kyler Murray against them, and Lamar ended up still going out and putting like 22 points on Buffalo, and Kyler put like 10 on Pittsburgh, and I lost. You know, but yeah, no, I've been playing for about 10 years. I've won the league twice. Made the playoffs pretty much every year except for one. And I play a lot of DraftKings. I've won football pool and a couple. One piece of advice, guys, and this has happened to me. Make sure that if you're going to do a DraftKings roster, you put it into a big tournament because I did a roster a couple times that I put into smaller tournaments and heads up matches, and it ended up being like 230 points. And if I would have put it into a huge tournament, I would have won a ton of money. And I didn't, and it's really tough. Like DraftKings is really tough because you have to pick players that other people aren't picking that are really at value, and you only have a certain amount of money to pick a roster for that 1 week. And I don't think we have a ton of correlation to football cards. I mean, that's a weekly. I guess you could with Star Stock and ComC and the way they allow you to flip them electronically, but that's a weekly thing, dude. I mean, you just know buying on eBay, getting it and grading it and inspecting it and then sending it off to ComC or Star Stock or sending it anywhere. I mean, if you just bought it on, I mean, that's what's crazy about having ComC and Star Stock is being able to flip that immediately. And a weekly highlight on ESPN or something is going to get a spike, could get a spike in that card at this point.
Yeah, I think the biggest points you bring up is that football, it's so different than the other sports where you're out. Even if you have a great year, you go 16-0 in your fantasy or whatever it is, you make it to the playoffs, or I don't know, I don't play fantasy, but you make it perfect. You win every game and then go to the playoffs and you lose once and you're done. And it's
Yeah,
like, and
that's it.
that's the
Yeah.
thing with the with fantasy. That's the thing with the actual NFL. You go what the Patriots went, was it 18-0 or 19-0 and then lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants that one year? I forgot how many wins total that is, but that's the whole point, is that you're
Eli
all in,
Manning.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Hey,
matter. You could have squeaked into the playoffs and then just won every game and won your fantasy league or the Super Bowl. But then when you're able to use cards, you don't have to sell right away. You could say, you know what, I believe in this player and I thought it'd be a very good investment short term, but he's off to a slow start. That's okay. I'll hold on for another 6 weeks or for another year or whatever. But you can still use that insight to have a bit more insurance on your picks versus I just got screwed. My whole season's done because this guy hasn't performed. Anything else you'd like to say before we get into some questions? Because I see a lot of people
no, man.
in
Oh, this is
here.
hey. Let's get right into the questions. That's what I love. I love engaging with all of you guys. I mean, this is fun, man. You
Yeah,
guys are all like, I feel, and we don't get a whole lot of in-person interaction right now, even with my neighbor. My neighbor is actually a good friend of mine, and he's a huge Bucks fan. And I go over there to watch the games with him. He's got a little man shed in the back of his house, some good times. And dude, I can't even like go over there right now because his wife works at the hospital, and it's stuff's crazy. So I love the interaction. Let's get right into the questions.
yeah, and I'll tell you what, you guys ask your questions on different players, things like that. Andy, why don't you tell us a bit about the players that you've already picked in your videos on your station, or just the guys that you really have liked so far based on your own fantasy insight?
Yeah, certainly. So the first guy, just like the cheapest guy that jumped off of me was Ryan Tannehill. And I know that in years past, there's been tons of jokes about him, how he looks like Jamie Lannister and how he sucked. I mean, he just But to be honest, did he get any time in the backfield? Did he get any protection? Did he have really much of a supporting cast down in Miami? No, I don't think so. Tennessee, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people forgot last year that Tennessee went to the playoffs. They beat Baltimore, who damn near could have gone undefeated, and then they beat the Patriots, and then they beat the Patriots in the playoffs, and then they went to the championship games with the Chiefs and put up like 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Tannehill jumped off the bat at me, but you know why? A big reason of why he's so successful, because other defenses have to play Tennessee to stop the run. Who is their running back? We're talking a monster of a human being, Brad. We're talking 6'3", 250 pounds. Alabama senior year. He went to a small school and as a rookie in college, and then Alabama's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's out there, sign his ass. And they got him down to Alabama, and he had like 45% of their total offensive production in his senior year was
Wait,
on him.
wait. That's West Side Teeth, right? That's West Side Teeth. If you ever look up Derrick Henry's teeth, the funniest meme out there is just a reminder that Derrick Henry's teeth still look like they're throwing up gang signs.
Jerry. Henry is going to have a huge fantasy year. He was #1 in total yards last year. Okay,
Uh,
maybe he's not a big receiving back, and that's why maybe in a PPR. See, I do my league a 0.5 PPR and a 0.1 per rushing attempt. And then I give 6 to the quarterback, 6 to the running back, 6 to the wide receiver. I have to balance it out because a rushing attempt is an attempt. That's offensive production. So we have to look at that. When you look at Derrick Henry's breakaway runs, which means his runs over 15 yards, he had the second most in the league last year. And this guy's yards created, which means after initial contact, how many tackles after the first broken tackle. So the offensive line guy is blocking the defensive line guy. As soon as he gets past that, how many yards does he create?
yeah, I wonder about
And
broken tackles, just in terms of if a running back's really great at breaking tackles. I'd love to find a correlation between that and overall performance, because then it's a shame when you're out in the open and then someone does a like shoestring tackle on you versus someone that could break it for another 40 yards, make the
exactly,
highlight reel, make their team win, and all that. I got let's look at
exactly.
some of the other questions here. We got a lot of them. Nicholas,
My
your thoughts
new
on the
creation,
QBs?
new creation.
Well, I got new QB.
New creation letting the cat out of the bag over there, bro.
What
I'm
is it?
sorry. I have actually I'm releasing a video tomorrow on running backs, and new creation just dropped one of them that is actually even more undervalued than Derrick Henry.
Okay, so everyone check
Check
new
your chat,
creation.
guys.
Uh, there's
Dude.
there's a one right here. Okay, Calvin Ridley rookie card. I don't know if it's Gary or Jerry. I'm gonna go with Jerry. Jerry S. Calvin Ridley was one of your guys
Oh,
about a month or two ago,
yeah.
and I got
Calvin.
a couple Calvin Ridleys myself. Let's see what else. Travis Kelsey's rookie cards, are they underrated?
They're not underrated. No, he's at market. You're going to pay market price for him. The thing is with tight ends, there's what we call the big three, and the two of them are very clearly marked. It's Travis Kelsey and George Kittle. You know what the third one is, Brad?
Gronk, hoping.
I love Gronk. I love Gronk. I think he'll be a great decoy this year. I could see him even getting a few touchdowns. I mean,
I,
Gronk is a safe ass investment. You know,
I mean, I hope so. I mean, that's
just
I've
because of Gronk Nation. I mean,
dude.
yeah,
He
Gronk's
makes
the
me
man.
laugh, man. All right, let's keep going
But
on.
but but the big three, the third one is Brad. He's on the most powerful offense in the league. Borderline, it's debatable, right? But he's there. He's just for some reason totally under the radar. Mark Andrews on Baltimore.
Mm.
Mark Andrews on Baltimore. Him and Lamar Jackson have this. Well, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. I mean, he's one Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry away from getting to the Patriots. Who knows if he would have beat Tom Brady and the Patriots? They might have beat him, but you know, Mark Andrews had a ton of performance last year. I mean, he was a baller in fantasy for weeks and weeks and weeks. He struggled a little bit with injury, but I think he's going to have definitely a bounce back year as he's getting into the league. And his rookie cards are dirt cheap, man, dirt cheap.
Another guy I see here. Oh yeah, Nick. Okay, I see. That's the. I was
I
looking at
don't know
New
about
Creations
DeAndre
comment.
Hopkins.
Okay, hold on a second. Uh,
Hunter Henry.
Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, and that's a debate we've had
Ooh.
for a couple months for a couple reasons. And I would say Mike Evans would be the safer one with the whole career, not necessarily this upcoming year, but he has a stacked resume. While Chris Godwin's is the flashy newer receiver, but he could easily have a bigger year in my opinion. But Mike Evans, like I look at him like, dude, I think he has more 1,000 yard receiving years or the most since Randy Moss or something crazy where it's been consistency, not necessarily the best for this
Sports
upcoming
Illustrated.
year. So what are your thoughts there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the only reason why I say that is because Mike Evans has dropped passes, man. He has disappointed me in the past, and I'm pretty sure you have seen that same disappointment.
At
Yeah, he's
times, yeah.
great. He's great deep, and he's made Jameis Winston look good at times. He also, you know who he made look good in college? Johnny
Johnny
Manziel.
Manziel.
Johnny Football.
Yeah.
But no, Chris Godwin is the guy. Chris Godwin is the guy. You know why? Because he's got the most yards after catch. He's the slot receiver. He's the Julian Edelman and the Tampa Bay offense. It's
Mm.
his production, his highlights this year are going to be insane, dude. He had the number one yards after catch last year next to Michael Thomas. And I know Michael Thomas is Sports and High's big guy. I see him talking about Kenny Galladay, and Kenny Galladay is another guy on Detroit. Matthew Stafford, dude, he made Megatron. I mean, he's still playing. I mean, he's another guy you could target as well that's underpriced. He's struggled with injury in the past, but and I mean, he was trending last year before he got injured. He got injured like in week 15. Before he got injured, he was trending for like 5,000 yards. He was trending to have the most passing yards in the game. And Kenny Galladay is a big reason for that. Kenny Galladay
Mm.
is like they call him Babytron. I think they call him Babytron or Nuck of the North, which is after DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is another badass guy. He's gone to Arizona, and I like Kyler Murray too. The problem with Kyler Murray is he did not get a lot of offensive line protection last year. Um, I'm interested to see if it's going to be changed there. They definitely have more weapons. He's still got Larry Fitz there. Even if he can't run full speed anymore, he's a lock for the Hall of Fame, guys. And he runs routes. He runs routes, and he's more intelligent than pretty much any other wide receiver in the NFL. And so with DeAndre Hopkins there, yeah, I can see why people are very bullish on them because you have DeAndre Hopkins, which is like, I mean, dude, he can catch pretty much anything. He's got really good hands. Um, if
Well,
Kaepernick's cards can go, why not wide receivers?
sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, look, the interest is there. The point is that all of you guys are here because you love football in some way. Maybe you're into fantasy, maybe you're into cards, maybe you're into both. But if
Yeah.
the desire is there, then why not? And fantasy football used to be. You were telling me the history back. It started in the '60s, right? The late
Yeah.
'60s, and it
No,
was just
that's a
like,
cool story, man.
yeah. Well, here, let's go over a couple
My,
more players, and then I want you
yeah.
to share the story of fantasy because
Sure, sure,
I thought
sure,
it was
sure,
something
sure.
that only existed about 20 years ago. I didn't know it was something that has been around since the '60s. Julio Jones, D Hops, Julio. I think
Yeah.
Julio's just
Lock,
like a
man. I
lock.
tell you, he's going to get into the Hall of Matt Ryan is still there. Matt Ryan, I mean, we talked about Calvin Ridley already, and that's because of vacated targets. I know we didn't talk about him a lot of depth, but Calvin Ridley, reason why I like him so much is because of vacated targets, because they had Mohamed Sanu leave, Austin Hooper. Those guys were eating up a lot of targets last year. That's a pass happy offense. Matt Ryan's still there. Yeah, safe investment. He's right there, dude. He's going to be nominated. But to be a lock, I think he goes out and just has a
Yeah,
decent year
he's
this year. He's a lock.
yeah, for sure. The other thing that
Yeah.
you mentioned, that stat you just mentioned right there, vacated targets, that's something that's so critical because basketball is not one of these. Basketball is a give me the ball, I'll do it. But when you have these other pieces, it's like, well, I'm a great receiver, but Chris Godwin had to earn his stripes behind Mike Evans. He had to work his way up and get that opportunity. And so when certain receivers leave, it brings up other receivers to step up into their place, and
Cooks.
then they can shine. But you need all these other pieces to be situated in a way that allows you to have that opportunity rather than just I get the ball and I do with it what I want. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah,
I
DeAndre
like Will
Hopkins you
Fuller
touched
better.
on. Let's see. Beckett Marketplace, BC. That's right. That's my jam. But I've cleared out Beckett. Me and Andy have cleared out Beckett. So now we're going to go to the big boys. I'm going to get market movers soon. I'm going to be doing videos with that. And I'm going to be jumping into the big stuff.
That's cool.
Uh, what else?
I mean, right now, I am sending all of my rookie cards that qualify for Star Stock to Star Stock. And that's another video I'm working on because Star Stock has got the lowest fees. They're inviting us to, you guys, the 39 people that are watching, if you have qualified rookie cards, send them to Star Stock. They're only charging half of the fees that ComC is charging. And you can, I mean, football season's coming in a month and a half, guys. Month
Well,
and a half.
yeah, I mean, I think the other thing too is just ComC is very delayed right now. So I've sent in cards to
Mark
ComC,
Charles Lee. Hey, Brad Brad did. I
but
actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 packages to open up over there. But Brad probably has more.
well, I've been opening a ton, and if you joined us on the live Tuesday night, I opened a pack there because editing this stuff is a huge pain in the ass.
Oh, BC. That
BC, let me
sorry.
know what the delay is if you have a time frame because I'm just curious. All right, what other players would you like a bit of insight about? Do you have any players or any questions you have? Because if it can be related to who's projected to have a great year based on fantasy, and we can cut out the intangibles and the stuff that doesn't apply, we might as well do that for the next couple minutes. But this is really up to you guys what you think. And if you asked earlier, then feel free to repeat it if we didn't answer you because we might
No.
not have been able to see it all. Al, I've not made any purchases on Star Stock. I still have it there. I still am looking at it from time to time. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I like it. I've done the videos on it. I like what they're attempting to do. I like their progress this early on.
Progress.
I just have not dived into it yet. But obviously, just like everyone, we kind of want more inventory because the more inventory we have, the bigger variance of
Interesting.
prices. If one person has a card for sale, they can determine whatever they want for that card. But if there's 50 sellers selling the same card, some will want to get rid of it quicker. Others don't mind holding it for longer. So I'll check in a couple more weeks. What cards do you have on your wall? Yeah, Patrick, I saw that question earlier. Sorry we couldn't get into it. Andy, what
Oh,
cards do you have back there?
he wants to see what cards?
Yeah,
So I know one that's going to be very interested to Jason Breaks. Let's see if I can.
let's see if we can rip it off the wall and not wake up your two kids.
Let me unplug the laptop so we don't.
Gaming God, safest cheap
That's fine.
football investments. I mean, I think
Can you see it,
safest
Brad?
and well, let's see. I got Chris Godwin up there. I got a couple Bucks players. I see it.
Old Buck.
The
You know
reflection's
I like
pretty harsh.
Byron. Well, because he's the quarterbacks coach of the Bucks. John Lynch, you saw my jersey. Mike Allstott. Can you see
Yeah,
that Fleer Ultra Mike Allstott?
the glare is horrendous, but yeah, I see orange.
What about now?
Yeah, now I just see the very top of it. Sure. Mahomes or Jackson? Uh, and then second year quarterbacks. You got some questions coming, man.
Yeah,
The,
it's
the safest cheap football card investments. I mean, it's like I think of a guy like Julio Jones as safe and cheap because like his performance, his legacy is already one of the best receivers
Julio
ever.
Jones.
What would you say a safe and cheap investment? The thing is, if it's safe,
Safe and cheap? Oh, dude, you want to know who the safest and cheapest investment is?
who?
He doesn't play anymore, but he's going to be into the Hall of Fame this year, and his rookie cards are very underpriced still.
Who's that?
Mr. Papa John's, my boy Peyton Manning.
Oh, okay, all right.
Dude, he's a lock for the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's going to go down. He's got the MVP. He's got the record for how many times is the MVP winner. He's got the MVP 5 times.
Well, here's the thing. I'd say another one I'd be curious about is Drew Brees. But here's the thing. What
Yeah,
is
he's
cheap?
underpriced still too.
But what is cheap? Like cheap is a relative term because, for
That's
example,
true.
cheap can
Yeah.
be like you're not getting the primary rookie card. You're not getting the Topps Chrome or the Prism Silver PSA 10, but instead you're getting the Optic, or instead you're getting the second year card. I mean, to me, like Tom Brady is cheap because I'm like, this dude is only going to go up for the rest of his life. He's the GOAT. He has so many reasons to go up, but that doesn't mean his primary rookie card is cheap. I still think in 5 years, the price right now is considered cheap because we'll look back and say, damn, 5 years ago, that was pretty damn cheap. But at the same
Yeah.
time,
He's a long-term investment. That's what I compare it to stocks. It's literally like stocks. It's like investing in Apple or Google versus investing in a biotech stock that's like, are they going to get FDA approval? Are they not? Are they going to get bought by a big company? Or, or it. I mean, even Star Stock. I'm sure. I don't know if Star Stock is publicly traded or privately held,
I
but
think they're
I'm
private for now. Yeah.
they're private for now, but I mean, a publicly traded company that's small like that, it's the same thing. There is a lot of guys in football, I mean, that are underpriced, relatively speaking. I mean, a ton of guys we've touched on already. I mean,
Well,
it depends on what your budget is. I mean,
yeah. Well, the other thing too is when you think of safe and you think of cheap, they don't go together because usually safe means it's a good investment, it's guaranteed. That's because it's safe, and because of that, the prices go up. It's like if a player is high risk, high reward, you get their rookie card for $1, it can go up to $8 or $9, but it's probably not going to. That's not going to be safe because the likelihood is not there. So there's always that pendulum, that counterbalance of how safe do you want to be? You want to be really safe? Well, those
exactly.
prices are going to be
Me,
higher by default. Apple is safe. Google is safe. It sure as hell is not cheap. If you want the best of both, it's basically taking risk, but you know the player or you know the system or you know the card so well that you feel that it's safe based on your own background. So that's where we're going into the Calvin Ridleys. We're talking about the Nick Chubbs, the certain receivers, running backs, quarterbacks that we believe are safe or safe for the price, right? Safe for the price, not necessarily safe overall, because safe overall, Tom Brady, but you're not going to buy his rookie card for $10. Even though you did get his rookie card for $45 from that lady off of a Facebook Marketplace. All right, so let's
yeah.
see
Oh,
here.
dude. Oh my gosh, that's probably that's my best investment since I've been back in. I mean, 41 people. Okay. So the way this all started was on March 20th, Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers. Brad and I were texting back and forth like kitty little schoolgirls after seeing an NSYNC concert. And he sent me a picture of a Chris Godwin rookie card with a jersey patch on it. And I was like, no way, you can get cards with jersey patches in them now? I haven't seen a card since the early 90s. And he's like, yeah, I got it for like $5. And I was like, what? And I was like, I gotta check this out. And so we zoomed that weekend and he showed me ComC, and that was eye-opening. And that's what got me back into the hobby, and just very happy to be here. So thanks for having me on, Brad.
For sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to go back to these comments and answer a couple more. We're gonna hop off in a bit. But dude, I love the conversation you guys are having with each other just because it's not like
Yeah.
we're experts. Andy knows fantasy football. That is his niche, and that's what he's bringing over to the card world. We're both learning more about the
Oh, Breeze is
nuances
a lock. Sorry
in
about it.
cards just because there's so much to learn. Because you can invest in a player. You can say this is the player I 100% believe in. But now, well, you got his primary rookie card. You have his Prism. Then you have his Optic. Then you have his Select. And then you have PSA 10. Then you have BGS 9.5. And that's all the stuff where it gets really interesting because now there's opportunity within a player. Now, what's the next opportunity? What is the undervalued card? And that's one of the reasons
Yes,
I'm
sir.
excited to do our. I'm going to do a video on Card Ladder coming up soon. When I've been diving into Card Ladder and their software, I'll be getting Market Movers soon and doing a first impressions video there. But the bottom line is, the more data we have, and the more we can interpret this data on a visual basis and just layer things and look for those discrepancies and those opportunities, the more we can piece together, okay, I got all the insight from fantasy who's going to perform. Now, what are the other factors? And I don't know if we touched on that enough, but there's popularity. There's are they liked in their community? Are they on commercials or liked in the public eye? Obviously, documentaries and movies always helps bring attention, and it's the reason why when I think of Shaq, I think of Kazam, that movie from the '90s, just as much as I think of him on the court. And now I think of him a lot as an analyst, where I almost forget about Shaq the player because I go, Kazam, or yeah, was it Kazam? No, Shazam. Was it Shazam? Was it Kazam or Shazam? The Shaq movie, I forgot. But I actually bought a card. I think it was Kazam. Yeah, Kazam. I bought one of those cards just because of that movie made an impression on me. So we have that. We have who are they with? Are they with a popular spouse or like a movie star? That always helps, or that always like adds another
Mhm.
element of could be in the media even longer. Um, I mean, what else we got? Even someone like Troy Polamalu. I think to
Bad
myself,
way.
I'd like a Troy Polamalu Kazam. That's right. Uh,
Dude,
hey, as a kid,
I'd
as a
like a
kid, that was
Troy
the best.
Polamalu wig.
Yeah, the things like
If we get
even someone's hair, like Troy Polamalu's wig. I go, damn, I would rather collect Troy Polamalu than Ed Reed, and I believe Ed Reed would be considered a better overall safety. But seeing Troy Polamalu's hair bouncing up and down as he spears someone illegally, that's cool, right? There's cool factors. There's Tyreek Hill, another receiver you'd mentioned in a prior conversation with me. I see him doing
oh
backflips in the end zone, and I go, damn, I
yeah.
want to buy a card of the guy that's doing backflips in the end zone more than the Tim Duncan of football, whoever that would be, like Marvin Harrison or someone. Like, well, I mean, Marvin Harrison had his own issues after he retired, but like boring is something we have to consider because the
Sure.
stats can be
Yeah.
there, but now we got
Sure.
to go. All right,
Sure.
well, what else do
Sure.
we? What else do we have to consider there?
Well, Travis Stidle, right? Travis Stidle was his name.
Who the hell's that?
Travis Stidle. He was an NFL player from back in the day, probably like 10, 15 years ago now, and he quit the NFL to go fight in
Dude,
Afghanistan.
Pat Tillman.
Pat Tillman.
Who's
Pat
like
Tillman.
big old titties? What are you saying?
Pat Tillman. Travis Stidle.
Yeah, Skittles. You're thinking Marshawn Lynch was Skittles. You're thinking titties. I'm thinking. Yeah. Pat Tillman. But someone had mentioned before Marquise Colston, the Tim Duncan of football. PSA 8 is interesting too. I would look into all that. But I remember someone mentioned Kaepernick is not someone to invest in. He's not a hero. He's not doing any good. And it was pretty a harsh comment. But he said if you want to invest in an American hero, invest in Pat Tillman cards. So I actually went on ComC and I was like, I'd love to get some Pat Tillman cards because yeah, I think of him as having the most amazing selfless legacy period. And I don't know a damn thing about what he did on the field. And I saw his cards were actually really expensive. So people will buy cards for whatever reason they want. Collectors at the end of the day will look at Colin Kaepernick, love him or hate him or somewhere in between. Pat Tillman, love him or hate him, probably love him. But the point is that you don't have to just put up stats, but on the field, the win percentages, the stats, the supporting cast is all going to help. And so when we know where to shut that off, it's going to help. All right.
Yeah, you see the guys
Yeah,
joking
Jason.
about Gardner Minshew because he's the Jaguar King on social media. He's got I mean, Vegas is only predicting the Jags to win, 5, 6 games this year. And they've lost a lot, but I mean, they're still, and he's showed tremendous talent out the gate last year for what he had to work with. So I like the guy. He's got a big social media following, and now with there isn't anybody in America that doesn't know who the Tiger King is.
Oh man, dude.
He's
Honestly,
got the Jaguar King.
if Tiger King had a card, I'd get his rookie card. If Gary V had a rookie card, a Prism rookie card, if he did that, I would buy a Gary V card. Like, there's certain things. Let me ask you, one quarterback. Or let's ask, what are some quarterbacks that you are targeting now, or that you've researched recently that have come up that have just like jumped out to you, as in they should be higher prices than this, or why aren't they this good, or you
Well,
can't
we
believe it.
we touched on Tannehill. I still think guys like, I mean, there's potential for Kyler Murray. Um, we know a couple guys that we didn't talk about is Tyrod Taylor in San Diego. He's got a lot of mobility. He hasn't been the most accurate in the past, but he's got a new opportunity with a much better O line. He's still got Keenan Allen, some weapons there. I see Tyrod Taylor as a guy that could make a little splash. And then we talked about, yeah, Russell Wilson is one. I can't believe I haven't talked about Russell Wilson yet. I mean, Russell Wilson is pretty much a lock for the Hall of Fame. He's one Pete Carroll decision away from being into that elite Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady status. I mean, Russell
Yeah,
Wilson could very easily go out and win the MVP, playoff, Super Bowl. We've seen him do it before. Pete Carroll has just got to let him go, but they're more run back. He loves to run the ball. They're more of a run balance pass team.
yeah,
But
and real
Russell
quick,
Wilson.
going back to safe, cheap investment, that balance, I think Russell Wilson's one of those players that it's safe on the downside because he's already established himself as a top tier quarterback, has a great system around him, great players, great cast, and it's still relatively cheap because he doesn't get as much attention in my eyes as he deserves. And so I think investors that see this are like, damn, that's not like everyone's going over for Mahomes and Lamar
He's too
Jackson
good.
and all that, but they're not looking at what's proven, but yet not as flashy or not as exciting of a year last
He's
year. But what's Seattle supposed to win this year? Because I thought they were a top
oh
10. Like I
yeah,
thought they were in
they're
the
out there.
top
It's eight. It's eight. I'm pretty sure.
the eighth seed, like the eighth highest. So I mean, right
No, no, no,
there.
no. Like not eight, but they're expected to win at least
Oh,
50% or
oh,
more
okay,
of their
okay,
games.
all
Yeah,
right, gotcha.
yeah. Um,
I'm too
yeah,
corny. Yeah,
I mean, Russell Wilson is a great one. And Antonio Brown is a guy that I've talked about, guys. He's going to sign with a team. Antonio Brown, they're taking Vegas bets right now that Antonio Brown is either going to sign with Baltimore or Seattle. It's actually better odds he signs with Baltimore. Can you imagine if Antonio Brown goes to Baltimore, even if he doesn't start because of his suspension and stuff till 2/3 through the season? He's still gonna. That could be a huge impact into the playoffs and beyond. So I
well,
mean, his rookie cards are dirt cheap right now too.
well, yeah, and Jerry,
It's a
yeah, I was
gamble.
gonna say too.
It's a
Russell
gamble.
Wilson, Ciara is his wife, and Russell Wilson,
CR, yeah,
Ciara has 25 million on Instagram, and
either
I
one.
just think of that kind of stuff as what other opportunities are going to be there outside of football, either between the season or afterwards. Antonio Brown, dude, Antonio Brown doesn't even have to
He may
last a
not.
week as
He
long
may
as
not.
he gets signed, or even if that headline, ESPN, Antonio Brown expects to sign, and he doesn't go through the physical, like right before all that, I bet there will be a spike in sales. So we saw with Cam Newton, we saw the prices go up, and we don't even
Me
know if
too.
Cam's going to start. So the point is, we don't have to see them play out. It's just a matter of that is that little window to sell when
Mm-hmm.
everyone's interest is peaked and
Mm-hmm.
some people will decide, hey, I want to invest now. I didn't think about this person.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy we were talking a bit about, our old quarterback, famous
Yep.
Jameis. Is he the best quarterback
Yeah.
in the world? No.
Hey. There's some people around here that would get their feelings hurt if you talk about Drew Brees getting hurt. So we can't be talking like that, Brad. But yes,
Oh,
Jameis. I mean, realistically, Drew Brees a lock for the Hall of Fame, but Jameis could. I mean, if something were to happen, Jameis would step into a knock on wood, guys. Knock on wood. Because I bought a lot of Drew Brees rookie cards out for like $30, and they're in really good shape. So I don't want anything to happen to Drew Brees. And I only own one Jameis Winston on ComC, and it's in his FSU uniform, and that's because of the notoriety that he had there, stealing crab legs and getting accused for
grabbing women by the you know where.
yeah, just doing some stupid shit. And Jameis. So yeah, my bet is on, but I mean, hey, that's why I talk about Jalen Hurts because he's behind Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz has gotten hurt 2 of the last 3 seasons, pretty significantly. And if he gets hurt, Jalen Hurts is a highly mobile quarterback that has some decent accuracy in college, and he could step in behind. The only thing that the Eagles are lacking a little bit is wide receivers, in my opinion. Alshon Jeffrey, I mean, dude, he's washed up.
Let's see what else we got here. We're gonna jump off in probably 5 or 10 minutes
Yeah,
max, but
I can't
this
believe
this
it's
is
been 45.
here's
Yeah,
the
this has
thing
been
though.
great.
This has been a blast for us. So I'd love your
Yeah,
feedback on
a lot
what
of
you
fun.
think of this. And when the football season's going, I'm gonna be back full into sports. Andy's already into football hardcore, so I'd love to
Oh
do
yeah.
this every week or two where we have a recap. We talk about what stuck out to us the prior week, kind of like a Monday morning quarterback type of thing. Um, any other sleepers? Any other people that you want us to talk about? Josh Allen.
I mean, yeah, there's a ton of guys. There's Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a solid pick because Vegas. I was just talking to Aaron about this. Vegas easily could see them go 9-2 at the beginning of the season because of their strength of schedule. The first half of the season, first 2/3 of the season, and so you could see Josh Allen spike big time. You talk about a big dude. He's like a Jameis Winston. He's like the white version of Jameis Winston, but a little bit more accurate. And I think he's got a little bit better spirits, you know. I mean, but he's like the same size. Like they're the same person, you know. They're like the same mobility. They got that. They're not super fast, but they're tough, and so they can break some tackles. And then it all comes down to the accuracy of the throw.
Okay, well, how about this? Look, we've talked about some underrated. Is there anyone that's sticking out to you as overrated? Someone that's like, I can't believe everyone is on the bandwagon of this player.
Oh man, I mean, everyone on the band play well. Ezekiel Elliott is a guy that I'm just not. I mean, I know he's on the Cowboys because they're a hugely popular team, but I think that the O line gives him a lot of what he has. I mean, he's a solid athlete, but he's never been behind a bad O line.
Hmm.
So he's a guy that I think is overpriced. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I don't think he's. I can't tell you if he's overpriced. I don't know if his rookie cards can keep going up. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I
they're
think
the
I think that's the point, though, is that literally the player can be excellent, but when prices hit a certain point, one little like a 2 game slump, and all of a sudden a $500 card goes down to 375, or a little injury and you're out 3 weeks. So
maybe.
it's not like the player's not amazing. It's just that when you counter or when you factor in the prices of their cards, then all of a sudden everything's got to be perfect for that to maintain its value and nothing can go wrong. I mean, if two offensive linemen of the Chiefs go down, that and Mahomes gets sacked 4 times a game and throws a pick because of it and all this, and they lose 2 games, that could really hurt. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
and Drew Lock is the dream. That's like the dreamer's car. I don't know, man.
So
That's a gamble. That's like a really good because you know they drafted new wide receivers in the draft. John always got a lot of confidence in him, but he only played a little bit at the end of last year, and it's like, you know, so you get to see him first like comes out in week 15 and gets to play good for a couple games, and then we don't see him. They draft wide receivers, so that tells you that the coaching staff has a lot of confidence in him. Yes, his rookie cards are underpriced. The Broncos have a fairly popular team. Vegas has got him in the middle of the pack because they still have a decently solid offense. I've heard, I personally, you guys saw my, if you guys watched my last mail day video, I bought like what 6 or 9 Drew Lock rated rookies. So I mean, I'm in right there.
man, so much. We got Deshaun Watson. I saw Derek Carr overrated. That was one of your players. I mean, he looked like a dumbass in that Prism rookie. I mean, just looked like he had
Derek
Eli
Carr.
face,
Well,
hardcore.
you know the reason why I bought him because it's a Prism rookie and it's a Derek Carr rookie, and they're going to Vegas this year, and they've got new weapons too, and they've got a
Sure.
really good O line. They've got Josh Jacobs, and they've got Gruden. So I'm just thinking from the popularity aspect,
Right.
that's why I got Drew Carr. But yeah, he did look dumb.
Well,
He
well,
looked dumb,
that,
and
that's an interesting point though, because you mentioned Dak, not Dak, but Ezekiel Elliott, not the best running back in your eyes, but a great offensive line. So then it comes down to, do you invest in the amazing player or the amazing parts that bring up a mediocre player? Because a great player with a horrible offensive line, horrible wide receivers, all that kind of stuff brings down that great player.
yeah,
But or do you invest in the average player with such good pieces that they look great? And I think that's where it comes down to, in my eyes, knowing the difference and knowing that, okay, if the prices are low of that mediocre player going to a new team that's stacked, that could be great for that mediocre player. If it's that amazing player that's going to a new team that is the Cleveland Browns, or at least traditionally the Cleveland Browns, then it can go down. And someone mentioned Odell Beckham, who, and
Brad,
I wish we got to it earlier, Odell Beckham
Brad.
Jr. And the one thing I liked about Odell was that his Instagram following is twice that of Tom Brady. And I'm like, what in the world is this guy doing? Why is this guy so popular on social media? And I still don't know the answer, but it made me think like, all right, well maybe he's going to get some extra deals or roles outside of football. But now he goes to the Browns, and no one's talking about him nearly as much as when he played for New York, a big market team, and playing with Eli. Um, Michael Vick. The only thought about Michael Vick is that I would love to see what his
Michael
card
Vick.
prices have been from the day he was drafted to the day he retired, because that must have been the craziest roller coaster ever.
Yeah, that would
From
have been a roller
highest of
coaster.
highs, lowest of lows, back to the highest of highs. I'm down. What else you see?
Brad, I was gonna say I've been selling Odell Beckham's on ComC. I bought a few just as a gamble because I mean, yeah, he does have the athletic profile. He does have the popularity, like you said. I think you told me that. That's incredible. 16 million
But like 14.
Instagram,
Or 14.
incredible,
But yeah.
incredible. So I mean, and he's very flamboyant, you
Mm.
know.
Popular
So
with the
his
kids. I see.
yeah,
He has the
yeah.
hair. He has the style. But like
Dude,
that's the
it's that
stuff.
highlight, that one-handed catch,
Hmm.
and then you do your, you know, it got crazy hair, he's all flamboyant. Next
Right.
thing you know, that's a big rookie card right there.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that brings a big point in, which is that's where fantasy could not even factor this in, and that's where we have to say, all right, where do we
You
look at and
can, my
say
good friend.
huge highlight reel catch, great touchdown celebration, is loved in the community, has a huge social media. Where like it's hard to weigh these factors, but I love looking at it as insurance policies. It's like, okay, but you know what? I don't have to sell now because you're also really big in the community and you have a super popular wife, and I'm just going to wait for something to pop up about that, and hopefully
Yeah,
that
but how
brings
do
it
you
up.
know that he would have that love in the community and all that respect without his athletic profile and his on the
Well,
field
sure.
production?
Well, sure. Yeah, you have to
They're
be.
hand in hand, right?
Well, yeah, it
They're hand
starts
in
with the
hand.
performance, unless you do something like Colin Kaepernick, where he performed enough in the NFL to be able to be known
Enough.
enough
Enough.
to be known
Enough.
for stuff he's doing off the field. Pat Tillman did something so drastic that even if
Yeah.
you don't really know him, like he literally gave his life for the country, where you don't even have to know anything about football or the. I think he played for the Cardinals or any of that.
But just goes
Um,
to show you, you could have a mediocre performance and still have a card that has a very high collection value that could be very good investment
yeah,
because of something that you did socially in culture.
yeah, and I mean J.J. Watt. I still think of J.J. Watt during the Hurricanes in Houston, and he raised, I think, something like $30 million. But he's beloved there, and he's a great face of the NFL. Like
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
like, I think the NFL likes to put him as one of the faces of the NFL, and so like I think about that, where an equivalent defensive player might not get nearly as much uh, praise or collectability, but someone like him would. Michael Thomas as well. I don't know if he's
Safe.
underrated, but great.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Sports and Hype would have to tell us if his rookie card is still underpriced because I mean I mean I'm sure his rookie cards are getting up there now. Chris Godwin's are getting, and Chris Godwin is right there with Michael Thomas right now. And Chris Godwin's last time I checked on ComC, his rookie Prism Raw was like up to $50 almost, I
mm,
think,
yeah, and yeah. Keep in
like
mind, we're
40,
we're doing like a
59.
low
But
end raw stuff, so you guys can go up to higher grades. I'm gonna start doing higher grades once I get market movers and card ladder going, and I feel more confident because I want that data. But we're
yes, you
starting
do.
with the small stuff.
Eli,
Um,
he wants to know is Eli Hall of Fame, and it's a possibility. Hey, you
yeah, yeah,
guys see that guy right there? I do. They better let him in this year?
yeah. John Lynch was the man. The one thing with Eli, from collectability's sake, I do not ever want to stare at an Eli Manning card. If I have to look at Eli Manning's face, like just sitting there, I think that would decrease value. Like if there's a card of Eli, his rookie card, where he's looking away or looking down, I think that would help.
I think that Eli Manning's face got me more views on my mail day video because I put his face in my thumbnail.
That was clickbait. Yeah. Uh,
But I did. I bought an Eli Manning card. He was in, and I really literally forgot that I had bought. I'm like, what did I do? I bought an Eli Manning first year Prism,
See, that's
but it
why you
was
don't do
like 50
drugs, kids.
cents.
Don't do
Yeah,
drugs
right.
and buy cards. If you're gonna do drugs, you do it separately from when you're on CompC or Beckett. Devonte Adams, Icky, oh, the Icky Shuffle. That's good. Who else?
Devontae
DK
Adams is a
Metcalf.
baller. DK Metcalf is a baller. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, can't go
Dude,
wrong. Especially, I mean, so if you look at Chris Godwin's rookie card right now on ComC being at like $40, I think I'd have to go look real quick. But yeah, so if you take his at $40 and then look at theirs at like I don't know what $10 to $15, yeah,
hmm.
I'm buying. I mean,
He-
that's in my opinion right now. This could change. We don't know what the future is going to happen. I mean, is the economy going to crash and then people can't, you know? All right, Brad, you
Well,
give
dude,
us some insight on
well,
that,
well,
brother.
I mean, like I pretty much mentioned my fear of this all the time. But one thing I noticed, which scares the shit out of me, to be honest, is that when I look at my COMC sales this last month, July, dipped on the 30th and the first and the second. It's pretty much nothing, and that tells me, or it gives me the signal that people could be deciding between rent and buying cards, where it's like, all right, I can't afford
Mm,
cards this week because I have to pay rent. But I wonder how much of that exists, because I want people that are in this in a healthy way, so that they don't have to decide between a necessity and something like cards. So when I see my
sure.
sales spike on July 5th, and I go, oh man, I guess the rent craze is over. And that's something else I wanted to look in more. Can you find better deals at the end of the month or certain times of the month based on other people not
Uh,
bidding up? That's something I'm going to research a bit, but it's just
I don't, I,
interesting.
you know,
Um,
my area has become like when my wife tells me our area, Florida, has become the epicenter of the COVID virus. And there
mhm.
was a card show apparently last weekend in Tampa, Clearwater, and I really wanted to go, but I have two young children, and a wife, and it's just I decided not to go, especially if that being an indoor environment with as many cases as we're getting, even wearing a mask being in there. I really wanted to go, but I'm curious to see what kind of deals you could get at card shows. Being in person, talking with a bunch of other card dealers, because I'm envisioning going to a card show. At least when I was a kid, the card shows were the guys that own card shops and maybe like their brother, their cousin, or somebody related to them that they took a bunch of cards from the shop and went to the show and displayed them. I'm really interested in the virtual show coming up. I really need to sign up for Jeff's virtual
Well,
card show.
I I mean, I don't know. I'm done with virtual, to be honest. Like, this is really cool that we get to
I
do this,
know.
but
I
uh,
know, man.
if the
I know you're
national is
okay with
actually
virtual.
happening in December, I've got to be there. That's going to be a priority of mine. Just honestly, from this side too, where I get to meet some of you if you're going to be there, get to see what all the buzz is about in person,
That would be
and
cool.
that'd be cool to
That would
meet
be really
Gary
cool.
Vee if he's there as well. Someone that's been mentioned a lot, and I'm sorry we didn't get to him earlier. Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. What's the situation?
Eh,
What's your take on what's
oh,
going on there?
dude, you guys have got to search Tom Grossi. Tom Grossi, his reaction to the Jordan Love pick. That'll tell you what's going on with Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, dude. I feel so bad for all Packers fans everywhere. That was the worst draft. That was literally the GM of the Packers giving Aaron Rodgers a middle finger. I mean, that was
Wow.
terrible, dude. And I don't like the pick at all because I still got a lot of confidence in Rodgers. I love Rodgers, dude.
Yeah.
I just bought one of his rookie cards the other day because I think they're still kind of underpriced for what
So is he
for
starting? Do you think Rodgers is starting
yeah.
this year?
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely. If he's healthy, you better damn believe you.
okay, do you think?
Yeah.
Let's go something a bit tougher. Do you think there's going to be a time in the season that Jordan Love will enter, except for garbage time? But do you think there's an injury or a slump that Aaron Rodgers will have this year, or the Packers will have, that will allow Jordan to enter the game?
Yeah, I mean it's a possibility, but I can't say that about Roger. In fact, I got to knock on wood for him too, just like I do with Drew Brees, because I don't want to see either one of those guys injured. Hey, because I don't want to see Tom Brady injured, man.
Yeah. Well, that
Dude,
was another.
I mean,
Here's another important thing that we didn't touch on is just how friendly the NFL has gotten towards quarterbacks, and how many just in the last 10 years or so, the amount of penalties for roughing the passer, hands to the face, everything to make sure that the quarterbacks stay healthy, which is great for not only the quarterbacks but then the other pieces as well, the wide receivers and the running backs, because now I'm sure if you look up stats, the offenses have got to be scoring more points, or at least on the field longer, racking up more stats. Just with the way the refs have been harsher on the defenses than they are on the offenses.
yeah, and that's why we've seen the MVP of the league every year since 2012, dude. So we're talking the last 6 years has been quarterbacks. Last time MVP, Adrian Peterson,
Yeah, my boy.
2012. he literally carried he literally carried the Vikings on his shoulders. He just handed the ball off to AP, and
Yeah.
they won out their season, man. So AP, and with him, I'm even like, I just bought a bunch of his 2019 Prism cards because the Redskins are changing their name.
And
They're
that's
forced to
interesting
change their
too.
name. That's brand new news that just came out the other day. The Redskins have agreed to officially change
Yeah.
their name.
Well, I mean that brings up another question of do Redskin cards go up or like what are iconic Redskin cards? I mean, are they like I don't even know like who the hell's on the
AP's a
Redskins?
Hall of Famer, but I mean, okay, Joe Theismann. I mean, that's a big one. You got all kinds of players. Um, I mean, look at Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is actually a really young guy. He's a wide receiver on their team. They call him Scary Terry, and that's because he's scary fast.
Okay,
He's
not
good,
not
bro.
not like scary Terry like Terry Bradshaw when I saw him in that movie and he's naked. What's it that chick flick movie with Matthew McConaughey? I don't know if you guys have
Oh my
seen it, but
god.
it's with the weird looking lady from Sex in the City and Matthew McConaughey and Terry Bradshaw is actually hilarious in that movie. I don't know if you remember it. I wish I remembered the name, but Terry Bradshaw I thought was like the best part of it. But all right, tell me more about this scary Terry dude.
Well, it's Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, he's a really good player, really good athletic profile. Rookie card, Prism rookie card's dirt cheap. He's on the Redskins. I would even say Dwayne Haskins in a Redskins because, yeah, Terry McLaurin is a superior route runner.
Hmm.
But even Dwayne Haskins, he's kind of like a Byron Leftwich, Jason Winston type of player. And but I think in the Redskins uniform, I mean, it could be, I think, a solid investment. I mean, they're underpriced, really. If you
Well,
look at it, it just all depends, man.
and here's the thing though, like this is the funny part about all this is that no one has played in 4 months minimum,
I know,
and
man.
there hasn't been that much movement. We've had the NFL draft, a couple signings, but it's pretty much when one player is underpriced, it just means that all the other players have been overpriced or bought up so that one player is underpriced by default, but we haven't had action to determine if any of this is right or wrong because two major injuries in week one and a major trade can all of a sudden throw everything
Yep.
all over the place. Like just all of a sudden,
Yep.
everything we're talking about now has no relevancy because Drew Brees goes down, a huge blockbuster trade sends whatever quarterback over here. And so right now it's just a matter of okay, well everything's just going to go up and up and up because football's going to come. It's approaching, and and that's pretty much it. And then it's like when one player is really hyped or the prices have gone up a lot and for good reason, we just have got to look at the alternatives and say, all right, well, if Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are this high, all right, who's number three? Who's number four? And where's the prices settling there? Anyway, guys, anything else you want to say, Andy? We've been on here for about an hour 15, and we're just going to do this again in the future because this is so much
Yeah.
fun. And just talking about
Yeah.
football and cards is it's not as good as football, but at least we can talk about it with you guys, and it's great to see y'all uh, interact with each other too because we can't get to all these comments. So, any final words?
Yep.
Anything you'd like to
Yeah,
say?
man. Yeah, man. Just thanks for all the questions, dude. This has been some great interaction. We've had some great volley back and forth, great questions, and just happy. Yeah, football is my passion, and with playing fantasy football for so long and making money in that, which also and beating my friends,
Bragging rights.
really,
Yeah.
got me into that huge. So I'm following it and collecting cards as a kid. So I've actually, if you guys aren't subscribed to my channel, well, next
Yeah, yeah, guys.
this weekend, I'm gonna release a mail day video. But I went to the stadium and filmed it there. So check it out. Yeah, hit that thumbs up. If we get 100 thumbs up on this video, I will wear a Troy Polamalu wig next time we do this. I will order one off.
I'm not going to do anything, but this guy will. I'll hold him to it. But anyway, look, if you want to learn more about fantasy football and its correlation to football cards and get into the weeds, as Andy learns more about cards, I learn more about cards, and we sharpen this. before the season and as the season continues, so we know what we need to tweak along the way. Just make sure to stay up with us. Obviously, this is a great time for us as well. So with that, thank you so much. I'm out. Any final words?
Peace.
Peace. All right, guys. See you Tuesday night on the live. Take care.
Oh, it just went up, shot up to 19. I click thumbs up. I guess it's your live stream, so I can do that, right?